At some point, most men realize something, not all at once. It doesn't arrive like a headline. It comes in slowly, quietly. And the part that stays with me, the part I keep thinking about, is how long it takes. How many years pass before a man finally sees it clearly? And what those years cost him? I've been thinking about a specific kind of moment. It's not a crisis, not a breakdown. It's more ordinary than that. A man is somewhere. His kitchen, his car, maybe just sitting at his desk. And a thought arises that he can't quite push away. I've been living for other people's version of my life. It doesn't come with anger. That's the thing. It comes with something quieter, a kind of tired clarity. Like he's been carrying something heavy for a very long time, and only now he realizes he was allowed to set it down. But the weight has been there so long, he doesn't know who he is without it. And here is what makes it so hard to see in real time. Everything looks fine from the outside. He has a life, a real one. Work that pays, relationships that function, days that fill up. And he's not ungrateful. He knows what he has. But there's a gap between the life he's living and some version of himself he stopped listening to a long time ago. He can't quite name what's missing. It's not a specific thing. It's more like a frequency he used to be tuned to that he can't find anymore. And the longer it goes unnamed, the more normal the silence starts to feel. Until one day, it doesn't feel normal anymore. It just feels like loss. But here is the strange part. Most men, when that feeling arrives, assume they did something wrong, that they made a bad choice somewhere, took a wrong turn, chose the wrong path. So they look backward, trying to find the mistake. But the truth is deeper than that, because for most men, the realization that comes too late isn't about a wrong turn they took. It's about a self they slowly stopped showing up for. Not dramatically, not all at once, just incrementally, year by year, compromise by compromise, responsibility by responsibility, until the man who exists now and the man who used to feel alive are separated by so much ordinary time that the distance feels impossible to cross. Most men never notice this happening. They only notice it when it's already done. There's something I think about a lot. How men are taught from very early on to orient themselves outward, toward achievement, toward duty, toward what's useful. That's not wrong. That orientation builds things, real things, families, careers, stability. But it also trains men to stop asking a very particular kind of question. Not what do I need to do, but what do I actually feel? Not what does this situation require, but what is true for me. And this is where things become interesting. Because when you spend 20 years not asking those questions, when you get really good at functioning without even checking in with yourself, something starts to hollow out, slowly, almost imperceptibly. But you are still performing all the roles. I mean, the father, the professional, the partner, the provider. You're still performing all the roles, but somewhere underneath the performance, there's a quiet absence. Like the lights are on in every room, but nobody's home. In the one that matters. And something changes after midlife. I've seen it in men I know, and I felt it myself. The things that used to feel like identity start to feel like furniture. Still there, still functional, but not really you. The title, the role, the image you've carefully maintained. And in that gap between the furniture and the actual person, a question starts to move quietly at first. If none of this was here tomorrow, who would I be? Not as a crisis, just as a real question. And most men don't sit with that question because it's uncomfortable. Because if you actually answer it honestly, if you really look at what's underneath the roles, you might find something there that's been neglected, something that needed attention years ago and never got it. And confronting that isn't easy. But avoiding it is how men get to 55 or 60 and feel like strangers to themselves. Here is what I have come to believe. The realization that comes too late for most men isn't really about regret. It's not just regret. It's about recognition. The moment a man finally recognizes that his inner life, his actual interior, needed the same care and attention he gave everything else. His work, his health, his obligations. But the interior got none of that. Because men aren't taught that it matters. We're taught to manage, to endure, to push through. And pushing through sometimes is exactly right, because life requires that. But there's a difference between pushing through something difficult and pushing through yourself. And a lot of men spend decades doing the second, while telling themselves it's the first. They're not avoiding life. They're just avoiding that part of life that asks the hardest questions. What do I want? What did I give up that I didn't have to? What was I afraid to want? Because wanting it felt selfish. Most men never sit with those questions long enough to answer them. And that's the realization that comes too late. Not that they failed, but that they were so busy not failing, they forgot to actually live. So, I want to ask you something real, not something you answer out loud, just something you sit with. Is there a version of yourself, a way of being, something you used to care about, something you let go of, that you haven't thought about in a long time? Not because you forgot it, but because thinking about it hurts a little. Because there's grief in recognizing what you set aside, and it's easier not to look. But here is what I know about grief. It doesn't mean you made the wrong choices. It means you're still in there. The part of you that wanted something real, that cared about something beyond obligation, didn't disappear. It's just being quiet, waiting for you to have enough space to remember it. And the men who find their way back to themselves, not perfectly, not dramatically, they're not the ones who had easier lives. They're the ones who were willing to look.